Ladies and gentlemen, hello again. Hello to each and every one of you. Once again, you are welcome here on the Éveil des Consciences platform. In international news, President Vladimir Putin narrowly escaped a massive drone attack. His helicopter in the air barely managed to evade it. When did this happen? It happened on May 20th. The information was made public on May 25th, 2025 by the Russian Ministry of Defense. You know, on May 20th, 2025, President Vladimir Putin traveled to the Kursk region. Yes, it was a show of strength and power. They needed to show that Kursk was completely cleared, hence the presence, of course, of Vladimir Putin. But during this time, after the thorough cleanup operation carried out in Kursk by the Russian army, which was also assisted by the Chinese army, ever since that point, it has been especially painful for NATO and Ukraine, who continue to launch drones into the Kursk region. During that period, more than 1,000 drones were launched. In other words, Ukraine and NATO just keep launching and launching. This is how it coincided with the arrival of Vladimir Putin's helicopter. It should be noted that Vladimir Putin went to the Kursk region aboard his command helicopter. So it was during this time that they targeted Vladimir Putin's helicopter, since they knew that Vladimir Putin was inside. So what exactly happened, ladies and gentlemen? What really happened? How were they able to save Vladimir Putin? According to official information provided by the authorities, a total of 46 Ukrainian drones, each featuring airplane-like profiles, were destroyed and taken down by Russian air defense forces. These drones were intercepted in the Kursk region, where Russian military units acted promptly to neutralize the aerial threat. The operation highlights the effectiveness of the air defense systems in place, ensuring the safety and security of the area. This was on May 20th. So 46 drones with airplane-like designs. These are the ones that were destroyed. Out of the 1,000 or so, it was these 46 that headed toward Vladimir Putin's helicopter. This information was reported by the Russia 24 channel Yuri. Yeah. There you have it, Russia 24. It was through this man named Yuri Daktin, who is the division commander of the air defense, that the information was shared. He referred back to the 1,177 Ukrainian drones that the Russian Ministry of Defense had announced were destroyed outside the special military operation zone. In the announcement, he mentioned 1,177 drones that the Russians had to destroy. During that period, the Russians destroyed 1,177 drones in the Kursk region. And among the 1,177, 46, at least initially, were aimed at Vladimir Putin's helicopter. So, what did he say? He specified that the incident took place between May 20 and May 23. So the 177 drones were not just on the 20th, but between May 20 and May 23. He says this. He says, I draw your attention to the fact that the attack intensified significantly when the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, that is, Vladimir Putin, was in the air over the Kursk region. In other words, they did the job and only afterwards did they announce it. And he reads this. He says, therefore, we were simultaneously conducting an anti-air battle. Yes, an anti-air battle and ensuring the security of the president's helicopter. This is what he emphasized. So, while Putin was in his helicopter heading to the Kursk region, when he was in the air, drones were being launched and they were conducting the aerial battle to neutralize the various drones. It must be said that it was a close call because no matter how capable they were at destroying the drones directed at Vladimir Putin's helicopter, one drone could have gotten through and hit his helicopter. Also, they travel in vehicles. Well, even if they are aerial vehicles, they are still armored vehicles. But in any case, the risk was high. He narrowly escaped. He was questioned about how the presidential helicopter was able to cross the combat zone, since it was indeed the combat zone that the presidential helicopter flew through. Dashkin then answered in the affirmative, adding that the aircraft was indeed at the epicenter of the repulsion of the massive drone strike. So he explains how the helicopter was able to get through. The helicopter was at the center of the fight. The helicopter was advancing. In other words, Putin himself, in a way, took part in the aerial combat. The further his helicopter advanced, the more the air defense was there, shooting down the drones one by one. What should be remembered is that Vladimir Putin visited the Kursk region on May 20th. This is a first for the Russian president since the liberation of this region in Russia, since the Ukrainian incursion on August 6, 2024. So here's what happened with Vladimir Putin's plane, his helicopter, and afterwards he was able to return to Moscow calmly. What does this show? It shows that we are facing a situation where nothing is going right anymore. Even for Russia, nothing is going right. Even for Russia, nothing is going right. If Vladimir Putin can no longer move freely through his own airspace because NATO and Ukraine keep launching missiles and drones, it means that Russia itself also has an interest in taking a big step toward peace, because the NATO members are not willing to tolerate this. What happened was that he was saved just in time. So let's imagine for a moment that these people stop their maneuvers. They can't stop their maneuvers. They will always continue. And if we're not careful, this could end up having very bad consequences for the Russian Federation. So we say thank God he made it out, but it was really a risk he had to take since the helicopter flew through an area, a real combat zone. And that's where he headed. But well, thank God he came out unscathed. Now, on the other side, we have the United States of America, especially Donald Trump, who directly accuses Russia of having stolen his technology. We will come back to this in detail in the next video conference. Please share this one as much as possible. I'll be back with more news for you shortly. This was the voice of your one and only samurai.